Are we here? Hello? Oh, people, do you hear me? Are we here? I hope that you can hear me. Well, hello, folks, and welcome. Feels kind of good to be here, you know. I've been doing a lot of live streaming. In fact, I've just finished a 9-hour live stream over on Twitch. And I hope you'll forgive me if I have a little coffee. I haven't ate anything today at all. No breakfast, no lunch. But I feel fantastic. I feel energized. And I'm here to, not to code, because I've done 9 hours worth so far today. But I'm here to spread glad tidings and good vibes, especially for anyone who is interested in commercial development. Today I'm going to be talking about how the Agile narrative is now falling apart. It's funny, you know, and forgive me if I sound a little bit smug here, but there's a lot of things that I've said over the years that at the time, and please do let me know if my sound's okay, this microphone distorts, you know, but there's a lot of things that I said through the years that at the time were very contrarian, maybe a little bit outrageous. And what a strange time we live in, because a whole bunch of the things that some of us here have been saying for quite a long time are now coming to pass. Is that the phrase? Anyway, I said a while ago, rather a long time ago, I've been saying it for a long time actually. I said a while ago that Agile was, well, I wasn't a fan. And I have to tell you that I've been kind of out of the marketplace since about 2018. And I've been kind of a bit depressed about it. I wasn't happy with rewrite culture. I wasn't happy with all of the middle management stuff. I definitely was not happy with Agile. But a message came in today from an anonymous source, and he's a bit nervous. He says he doesn't want it to come up in any future job interviews. He says, but you could just say a handsome, talented developer from North Wales. So there you go. Anyway, I had a tip-off from an anonymous source. It's not a tip-off, really. It's public information. But he gave me this information that I thought was extremely interesting, and I'm now going to give it to you. And can you believe it? According to a study, the study finds 268% higher failure rates for Agile software projects. I'll leave a link to this in the description. I'm going to read a little bit. I hope you don't mind. A study has found that software projects adopting Agile practices are 268% more likely to fail than those that do not. Now, we live in a funny old age, don't we? It seems as though the scientific method itself is under attack lately. Don't know if you noticed. But I cling on to the scientific way. And to be entirely honest, a study has found is interesting, but it's not good enough for me. So I did a little bit of digging into this. And it's basically some guy selling a book. And so I have no means of authenticating the data or the study or anything like that. But I did have a look around Google News, and I would encourage you to do likewise. And there's no question, tectonic plates are shifting beneath our feet. And the Agile narrative is falling apart. Let me just keep an eye on the comments, because I do like to see what you're saying. Can we have an ahoy for Doronov? Good to see you. Good to see you here, Doronov. Welcome, welcome. We have Frank Tech. Ahoy to you, my friend. We have not Mark Knopfler. What a strange name. He actually plays the guitar, and he's very good at it. Ahoy to you, not Mark Knopfler. We have Yanaz Novak. Nice to see you. Ahoy, my friend. And new name. It's Landon X3. Now, Landon X3 says the core of the, and I'll read all of your comments actually. Let's go from the top here. Let's see here. We've got greets everyone, just here to say, yes, Agile is bullshit. This is not Mark Knopfler talking here. He says, at least the way it's meant to be practiced by these bullshit artist cult-like Agile practitioners. It is. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Doronov's here. He says it's supposed to be written as Agile. Is that right? And Agile, I have no idea what, I can't read. If there's a joke there, it's been lost on me. Call me an idiot. Sound is okay, but looks like there's a glitch video-wise. Oh, geez. Well, that's unfortunate. Video's fine here. David says normal, handsome self. Thank you. Geez, for a minute there, I thought you were that AI bot. Doronov, videos seem to crash. Works now after a refresh. Sell more courses. Another new name. It's Yambularad. Ahoy to you and welcome. Yanez just passed Scrum. Owner basic certificate. Company made me do it. Mr. David, could you please keep streaming on web development talks? Yes, I'm actually, depending on how the feedback goes, I have 11,300 subs. You'd never know it. You'd never know it because my videos are lucky if they get 200 views. Some of the times I'm live streaming and there's like 2 people here. But I don't take it personally. And I can assure you that the subscriber count is real. The thing is, I did lots of tutorials. That's what got me there. And then I had this crazy idea, let's build a framework. So that smashed my following. And then I had another crazy idea, let's do these massive marathon live coding sessions. Now, there are a few people who watch them, but let's be honest, it's a very... what was it the leader, the manager of Spinal Tap said? An exclusive following, which is code for saying nobody's showing up for them. But I'm not going to be doing those live streams publicly on YouTube. I may do them for the members area, but I'm not doing them publicly. I'm back and I'm here to talk about web development, technology, and all of that stuff. Because from where I'm sitting, we'll call it the David was right file. I stole that from Kevin Trudeau. He has the Kevin was right file. Well, the David was right file is in full formation and the flags are flying. At the start of the year, I did a little video. I don't talk about web development much, but at the start of the year, I did my state of web development address. And in that video, I talked about the winners and losers. And I said back then that C# and what was the other one? C# and Java and Python are the winners, but mostly C# and Python. And I spoke about some of the losers. And oh, how right I was. I looked at the jobs market just last week, had a good look for a few days. And I would say about 50% of web development jobs are now looking for C# and Python. It's another one for the David was right files. But let's talk about this Agile thing, because I was certainly right about Agile. Now, one of the things that's interesting is when you go into the Agile thing and you see that people are unhappy with it and everything like that, I've noticed, based on my intensive research, that you always get somebody, and I hope nobody said this in the forums. If you have, I don't mean to offend you, but you always get somebody who says, oh, they're not doing it right. The trouble with Agile, they're not doing it right. Folks, I don't want to start swearing like a drunken sailor. This is the age of integrity and I'm changing my vibe. But that kind of response is utterly ridiculous. I don't want to regurgitate everything that I've already said. I think I've posted 2 or 3 videos where I've basically put Agile on the chopping block here. But the whole Agile thing is nonsense. It solves a problem that does not exist. You go to any Agile course, any presentation, watch a conference. I've even got a friend who's an Agile manager. He's a good guy. He might even be watching. Hello, Mark. I hope we can meet up soon. I like the guy. He's an Agile project manager. It's fine. We can still be friends. But I asked him about this, and I said to him, I says, tell me, what is waterfall? This is the thing that they all are allegedly solving. I have to let Coco out the room. Give me 10 seconds. All right, Coco, on you go, my wee friend. On you go. Yeah. So you go to watch any Agile presentation, any book, anything you want, and they're going to talk about waterfall, and they're going to talk about this system that apparently people use, whereby they come up with a project brief that's very crystallized. They do it from start to finish and tick off all of the boxes, and then they finish it and they say, here's your app, and I'm sure they elaborate on it, but this is the gist of it. I have been in this industry since 1996. I have been involved with web development, not some obscure bullshit with Fortran. I'm talking web development, not basic, not QWERTY or some horse shit. Web development since 1996. I have been doing this since before they had a name for it. And my friends, I am here to tell you that anyone who works the way that the Agile people are describing this waterfall thing, there's a special name for that type of developer, and the name is unemployed. An unemployed developer. Because if you take a gig from a client and you don't communicate and you crystallize it, we're not going to change, and all of that ridiculous fairy tale that they made up, you're not going to be in business for 5 minutes. So what the Agile people did is they created a problem out of thin air that does not exist. I said to my Agile friend, we went a walk half a mile down the road, it was nighttime, and I said, what's waterfall? He gave me the canned answer, and I said, okay, I'd like to check out the waterfall podcast. Can I go and check out the waterfall podcast? Show me that. He says, I don't think there is a waterfall podcast. I said, fine. How about a conference? Where is the waterfall conference, everybody? I'd like to see this. There is none. Now, you can get conferences on everything these days, right? You name it. There's a conference. There's probably a podcast for people who work with little He-Man figures by their side. But my friends, there's no waterfall conferences or podcasts or anything. 1 or 2 jokers released these Mickey Mouse books, but it was only so that they could sell you their Agile bullshit. And I called all of this out. They created a problem that they just invented a problem and said, here's what we're going to solve, and they called it Agile. Again, I don't want to regurgitate information that I've already given you, but I gave you the name of the book that they stole the Agile from. They stole their information from a book called The Toyota Way by Jeffrey Liker. All of their ideas they stole from Toyota. It's already been written down, and they even had the audacity to hang on to the Chinese name, the Japanese names. Was it Kanban and all of that stuff? What a nerve. And the funny thing is, it was always bound to fall apart. And it's funny. There's so much that, forgive me if I sound a little bit smug, but I'm going to start doing these talks probably twice a week if the comments are good, if I get thumbs ups. If I don't get thumbs ups, I'm out of here, and you can go listen to Steph Mischuk talk about how Swift's going to be out of fashion soon, or some other thing. There's plenty of channels like that. This is the channel where we get things right. And by the way, again, forgive me if I'm being a bit self-congratulatory, but there's a certain process that I go through when it comes to this stuff. It's kind of a 4-point process. First thing is, I say to myself, how do I feel about this? So when I see some middle-aged dude walking about on stage saying to everybody, hey, if you don't do things my way, you're not a professional, I ask myself, how do I feel about this? And sometimes there's a little nagging voice that says I don't feel good about this. The next thing I do is I start looking into the thing in a little bit more detail. Take rewrite culture, for example. I was the first person onto that in the whole industry. I actually wrote about it in 2012. And what happened then is I was looking at the frameworks, and I noticed that they were all high-fiving and celebrating every time they brought out a new version and broke their own intellectual assets. And I thought, this is weird. Why are we celebrating this? And you were all celebrating, half of you saying, yay, new version. And I stood alone and I said, this is utterly absurd. Can you imagine buying a new car and them saying to you, here's the keys, see you in 6 months for your new engine? It's ridiculous. If web development was a regulated industry, the courtrooms would be jam-packed. That's what I'm saying. So I called out all of that stuff. And again, it starts with a hunch. This doesn't feel right. And then you look into it. This is stage 2. You start looking into it and you say to yourself, right, why are they actually doing this? Who benefits from this insanity? And what do you find? That's right. It's all about the money. So in the case of rewrite culture, you show me the frequently rewritten PHP frameworks. Show me them. Take, for example, Symfony, and I will show you a business model where profits are made if they break their own intellectual assets frequently. And I would like to formally dish out an apology to the Laravel community. That's right. I know that you didn't expect it, but I'd like to formally dish out an apology to the Laravel community, because whilst Laravel has, well, it's literally the most frequently rewritten PHP framework of all, as far as I can tell. Prove me wrong. Whilst that's the case, and you know, I've put Laravel on the chopping block and everything, and yes, they do certification. I have to give Laravel credit because they did build a cohesive ecosystem out of thin air, and some of the things they've got are incredible. Laracast, I've just finished a discussion forum and it was difficult. It was really difficult. Have you looked at Laracast? It's beautiful, you know, and I look at that and immediately I know that it's custom made. It tells me that they stand by their product, and regardless of what I may think of the code or whatever, or the rewrites, they believe in the product and all of that stuff. And there is hope for Laravel as far as I'm concerned, because I'd seen 1 or 2 tweets with Taylor Otwell saying stability, stability, stability. They're changing their tune. And if Laravel goes that way, because Laravel doesn't need to do the certificates thing. They don't need to do that. They've got plenty of other streams of revenue. I'm actually a Laravel optimist. I think that they are going to go towards stability. It'll be one for the DC was right file. And they'll all be thanking me because, quite frankly, I think I'm the best thing that ever happened for the Laravel framework. You're welcome. But I owe Laravel an apology, or the community, because I had singled them out as being the ones playing this game. The reality is that it was Symfony that should have been on the chopping block. The entire Symfony framework business model is based on we're going to break our framework over and over and over. And every time we do it, we're going to sell you a bunch of framework certificates at €250 a pop. That's the game. That's the business model. And I called it out. Now, today we're talking about Agile. Again, I don't want to repeat myself. It's all there. I stand by everything I've said about Agile. Perhaps we should just get straight to the good stuff and talk about what's going to happen and what this all means and how you can profit from this incredible information I'm dishing out. Information that you will not find anywhere else. Excuse me, I've ate nothing today. Just got this coffee. Give me a second here. So, it's talking about the process I go through. I get a hunch. That's step one. I look into it. I say, who benefits from this insanity? Who benefits from this insanity? And when I see the evidence, it's always about the money. Then we go on to stage 3, which is where I make a YouTube video. And I'm literally the only guy in the world saying, this is bullshit. Ding, 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 ding. It's an interesting phase. Usually I have a few people who stand by me, but tons of people saying the dude's a nutcase. And then we have stage 4. Stage 4, action. Suddenly things happen. Change occurs. And I think that's the stage that we're at, not just with Agile, but with a whole bunch of things. I had, now give me a second again. This is some fantastic coffee, let me tell you. All right, I've been coding for 9 hours, live streaming. Not just coding, live streaming and coding for 9 hours, literally 2 minutes before I came on here. So I'm catching my breath. So in any event, those are the stages that we go through. Now, interestingly, I had this sort of hunch. It always starts with a hunch. And I was thinking to myself, there's like, okay, let's talk about Agile, right? All of the Agile stuff is being held up by hot air. The reason why you may get 1 or 2 people in the comments saying, oh, they're not doing the Agile right. They're not doing the Agile right, don't you know? No, they haven't. They haven't bowed to their Scrum Masters. You'll get the odd comment like that. What you'll never get is one of them coming on a live stream with me. And oh, how I tried. None of them will go on a live stream with me. Not because I'm some intellectual powerhouse. It's because they will be taken to school. My opening salvo would be, hey, Agile guy, why should anyone listen to you? And by the way, doing something for a long time, in spite of what I said earlier on, is no reason to be declaring somebody as being massively competent at something. Now, I had this sense that, of course, it's all about the money. You know what happened with Agile, right? You do know what happened. Do you need a reminder of who benefits and all of that stuff? Well, to give you an idea, and it's kind of stating the obvious, but I'll go over it just in case there's anyone new here. Let's imagine that you are somebody who works for a recruitment agency, okay? And let's imagine that your job is to match candidates up, web development candidates with jobs, right? That's what you do for a living. Thank you very much, right? So just imagine that's what you're doing. Now, when Agile came along, this was a fairy tale for recruiters because this guy owns a business, let's say, right? It's a business owner here. I know he looks like me, but, well, the giveaway's the sword and the shield. So imagine this is a business owner. This business owner wants a system, maybe a system for the call center or whatever, okay? Before Agile came along, the recruiter would be saying, here's Charlie, who's a really great developer. Charlie might do PHP, whatever, doesn't matter, right? Say, here's Charlie. He's a great developer, and you can have Charlie for the bargain price of 70 grand per year. Charlie has all sorts of experience, references, you name it, skill to the eyeballs. Oh, won't you hire Charlie? Here you go. This was the job of the recruiter up until about 2015, when all this bullshit kicked off. But then what happened is, suddenly, especially on YouTube, we saw all of these old timers pacing about on stage telling us that we're not doing things right unless we do things their way. And they came up with this Agile manifesto crap. It was basically a bunch of middle-aged guys who met in a hotel in Colorado. As far as I can tell, they found a spare room with a whiteboard, and they decided, let's have a good old waffle about project management. And this was the birth of the Agile manifesto. Now, unfortunately, a lot of you folks went for it and you thought, yeah, Agile. Well, it just so happens that one person is rather ahead of the curve. I had read The Toyota Way by Jeffrey Liker. As soon as I saw what the Agile people were saying, I was saying, this is just outright plagiarism. There's not even anything original there. This is plagiarism. And then I started saying, what have they actually done, these people, anyway? But let's forget all of that. So what happens is, you all get into Agile. Oh, Agile, great, I'm Agile. You're all Agile people now. Fantastic. Now, what happens with the recruiter? Well, here we go. The business owner's looking for a developer. And the recruiter, instead of saying, here's Charlie, 70 grand a year, now the recruiter can say something far more interesting. Now the recruiter can say, well, instead of hiring a genius developer at 70 grand, that's, let's face it, a single point of failure, right? This is the terminology. Instead of having a single point of failure, why don't you get, and I've ran out of figures here, I'll use watches. Why don't you get this, why don't you hire Chico here, who is an Agile project manager? You can get Chico on board, maybe not for 75 a year, maybe 45 a year. Sound okay? Cool. And then what you can do is you can get Starsky and Hutch represented by these fabulous, this watch costs $250,000 actually. It's a Patek Philippe Nautilus homage. Actually, the original would be $250,000. I actually got a great deal on this and got it for 45 quid. But the point is, the recruiters can now say, look, instead of hiring a genius web developer, single point of failure, who's probably going to steal your passwords and go on strike, you can now hire an entire team. And instead of giving these developer pretentious morons 70 grand a year, you can give them 30 grand a year. Maybe even 35, something like that, if they're a bit pushy. Now, that may sound ridiculous, but I can show you the jobs boards tonight, and this is the kind of stuff that I'm seeing. Web developer salaries have gone through the floor because of this Agile bullshit. Have any of you seen there's a meme, it's a kind of animated GIF you see on Twitter from The Great Gatsby, and it's Leonardo DiCaprio's kind of like cheers. I think he's doing a toast and there's all fireworks and it's, you know, it's a big fancy ball. I've been on LinkedIn and seen the Agile managers saying, well, here's to all the, hang on, I'm getting a skip ads thing I'm putting on. I've seen the Agile managers sending that to each other saying, well, here's to another year. They are absolutely raking it in while we web developers have been getting totally demeaned, made totally expendable, and everybody's sitting around going, I better check in with the Scrum Master. You people cannot even change a frigging comma without having a meeting, some of you. So the whole thing is a complete loser for web development. No wonder I left the industry and started doing other things, working on a framework for the past 4 years. I wanted nothing to do with it because web developers lose. I have this crazy idea that the person who's most qualified to make decisions about web development is a web developer, not some school leaver. But in any event, that's what happened. Web developers lost. Web development salaries have gone through the floor. Everybody's on a downer. And half of you are probably even thinking about giving up. The good news is I am back. Twice a week I'm going to be here. And I am back. And I'm not here just to go bad-mouthing anything. I am here with a smile on my face and love in my heart. I'm on a mission of mercy because I called all of this. And I'm telling you folks, I'm seeing opportunities on top of opportunities. Oh, hallelujah. Our industry is back. Because do you remember when I said that the web developers lose, right? That's who loses from Agile. You shit kicker. If anybody's leaving a pro Agile, I haven't looked at the comments. I hope you haven't, right? Web developers lose out of this. And that's a fact. But do you know who the real loser is? The real loser is this guy, the business owner, because he has now, instead of hiring one developer who may or may not turn out to be good, now he's hiring an entire team and spending fortunes. It is my observation and the observation of this study. Can you see? And there's other links I can give you if you want. This is not the only story in town. But the Agile stuff does not work. And it's all very well for you and I to come here and speculate and chat and sip coffees and everything like that. But how do you think the business owners feel? They are spending fortunes on this. I had a run-in with an organization last year. Shall I give you the name? Maybe I shouldn't. Anyone wants to know privately as a member of the club, ask and I'll tell you. The guy, and again, members of the channel talk to me privately. I'll give you names and addresses. The guy had spent £1 million, okay? All you American folks, multiply by about 1.2. He'd spent £1 million on an Agile team who had built jack shit because it doesn't work. It does not work. And I've been saying for a long time that the Lone Ranger developer is always far more productive than the team. It's just the way it goes. Now, I had checked in with I checked in with a couple of recruitment agencies last week to kind of I like keeping my eye on the ball. And the truth is, I'm thinking about coming out of retirement. I'm thinking about it and I'm looking at the landscape. And one of the questions that I ask recruiters when I talk to them is I say, what is your biggest challenge? Through the years, I've always had the same answer. And they say that the biggest challenge is finding good developers. That's what recruiters have been telling me. Last week, I had those conversations and now I'm getting a different response. Now the recruiters are saying, our biggest challenge is finding clients. Finding clients. And what's happening is the business community, and I was saying this earlier on, like never mistake what you see on YouTube as being the commercial web development. This is just people selling courses and stuff like that, right? But the business community are onto this and they're saying we've had enough. We've had enough. Now, here's how you're going to profit from this information. The first thing is, I think that change is in the air. There's another YouTuber, I'm not going to mention his name because he's not here and I don't want to say anything bad. I like the guy. I consider him a friend actually. But he was doing a video about PHP's back, this is great, PHP's back, the freelancers are back in town. That may or may not be the case on YouTube, but my take on it is this. When it comes to IT, we don't really do the same gig twice, the days of the Lone Ranger developer knocking the door and saying, I'm a freelancer and would you like a PHP site and all of that? That's a very, very hard pitch to do. I don't think, as I was saying before, and I'm going to try and wrap this up in 1 hour, right? But in spite of everything that's wrong with Agile, they were solving a legitimate, or at least addressing, let's say, a legitimate problem. And the problem is that the traditional universities were churning out these turkeys. And the traditional university systems, and God bless them, I went to uni. I'm not like some guy who's, feeling bad because it's something to do with uni. I went to uni. It was the biggest waste of 4 years in my life. Or was it 5? I don't know. But the point is that the speed of change is so fast with IT that it kind of blindsided the universities. And when I had an agency going around about 2007, 2008, I remember I advertised for a web developer job. I had a little office and a few staff members. And I remember I had 800 people responded to this job advert that I posted. And I looked through the applications, and the ones that were the uni graduates were just useless. When you looked at their skill set, they were getting taught Fortran and all stuff like that, just total left field. Nobody was touching it. For a long time, they were using that, what was it called? The original .NET thing. I don't even know the name of it. Begins with ASP or something like that. Active server page. Anyway, it was all this out of date stuff, and the universities, they just couldn't keep up. You show me somebody who has done a few Udemy courses, and I'll choose that guy before the uni graduate any day of the week. At least that was how I felt a while ago. And what happened with Agile is the Agile people, to their credit, they identified a problem and they addressed it head on. And the problem is that the universities were churning out these graduates who were in 75, 80 grand a year jobs, who would sit with headphones on like this, vegged out, just vegged out. And nobody knew what they were doing. And whatever they were doing, they were a single point of failure, and they were holding business owners to ransom. It was a huge problem. And when the Agile thing took off, to their credit, they addressed that problem head on. And in all of their presentations and everything, they said, to the business owners, look, we are not going to give you these single points of failure. You're not going to have somebody sitting like this, vegging out, and nobody knows what this person's doing. No, we're the Agile people, and we are going to be encouraging, in fact, demanding constant communication. To business owners, this was a dream come true. Another thing with the Agile is we're going to make it so that instead of you being held to ransom by some developer who has all the passwords, we're going to make it so that the developers are kind of like cogs in a big old machine, and they can be replaced easily. And by the way, business owner, this is exactly the types of system that you see in places like Microsoft, Facebook, and all of that stuff. So, don't you want to get into Agile? Oh, don't you want to get into Agile? And that's the pitch that I'd be doing if I was a recruiter. And of course, it's fantastic, because now, instead of employing one developer, they'll get gigs for 3 or 4 people. And that is all, of course, kerching. It's always about the money. Now, That whole thing is falling on its ass. Business owners, what I've noticed is they've realised that it's all hot air. It takes a whole lot of hot air to keep this going. It's like when somebody pretended last year that Trongate had SQL vulnerabilities. Now, maybe it has, but I haven't found any. And I've had one of the best security guys in the world look into this. And it was all just hot air. And forgive me for, if I'm stealing a line from somebody, but it's a lot of energy to keep that hot air going and to keep everything afloat. And so now, I think we've reached a point where the rubber is meeting the road. And as far as I can tell, business owners are onto this. And what I'm seeing is two things happening. And this is the part that you want to listen to if you're a commercial developer. I'm going to give you the gold, okay? If your response to this is, hallelujah, PHP's back, I'm a freelancer, do you want to hire me? All you're doing is turning the clock back. I mean, good luck with that. Maybe you can do it. I don't think I can do it. So, the smart move is to look at what way the wind is blowing and then deal with it head on. So I'm looking at the marketplace right now and I'm thinking, am I going to do this again? I could do it, start a web development agency, right? But if I do it, I'm not going to be saying I'm the PHP genius. Instead, I'm going to be looking at what the business owners are trying to achieve and what they're doing. And it's right in front of your face, by the way. And then I'm going to be serving them what they want on a frigging plate. And when you look at the business community, it's like a vortex, And Agile has been in the vortex, along with rewrite culture, by the way, for quite a long time. But that stuff is now leaving the vortex. It's gone. It's old news. If anybody out there is hiring an Agile team, come and talk to me. I guarantee in half an hour, you won't be hiring an Agile team. The narrative is not working anymore. But what are the business owners doing? Two things. The first thing is, now there's some of them that are saying AI. They're going to be disappointed because AI is the moon landings all over again. That's another little spoiler alert. I mean, you do realize I'm about 5 years ahead of the curve here when I'm talking to you, right? AI is going to plateau. It's the moon landings, right? Anybody who thinks we don't need developers anymore because we've got AI, they're going to be very disappointed. Holy moly, I've just finished a 9-hour coding live stream. So anybody thinking AI is going to take over web development and all of that, they're wrong. What the business owners are doing, hello, is they're not going on to Elance and going for the freelancer. No, they're doing two things. The first thing is they are looking at the likes of Wix and Shopify and Squarespace and Webflow and all of those content management systems. And a ton of business owners are saying that's what we're going to do. There's past clients of mine, and I've looked at their sites, and it's like, oh, they switched to Shopify. Interesting. That's huge. And right now, there's a sort of technological warfare going on with all of the content management providers, those who build the content management systems. I went to the shop recently down the road just for lunch, and there was a big billboard. And it literally said, try the Dojo or something CMS. I'd never even heard of it. And they'd hired a big content management system thing. So there's a big war going on with all of those characters. They're going to do that, and millions has been thrown at this. They're actually really good at marketing, and they're very well funded. I happen to have a pretty good content management system called Trongate Pages, but I'm not going near that war because I cannot compete with, you know, Jennifer Lopez and all of that saying, hey, I used Wix. You've no chance, right? The marketing is too good. Don't get involved. So there's going to be a lot of business owners who say, let's do that stuff. And that's that, right? But the other thing that they're going to do, and this is where the opportunity is. There are a lot of business owners right now who are saying, do you know what? I've had enough of this bullshit. Let's just do it in-house. And that's what I'm seeing. And there are people watching this video tonight saying, that's right. And we've met some of them, right? And they're saying, do you know what? I'm just going to figure it out myself. How difficult can this be? And now that we've got things like ChatGPT, well, there you go. So, people of the planet Earth, that's pretty much the gold right there. That's the gold. And one of the things that I'm going to start doing if I come back here, if I get enough likes and positive feedback, I'm going to start doing these little shows again, probably twice a week, probably. And I'm going to be telling you the stuff that I would be doing in this climate that we're in. So one of the things that I'd be doing, and write this down on a piece of paper, is positioning yourself as not just a developer who builds, but I can show you how to do this stuff. You do that, and you will be a hero. I've actually came up with 3 ways of, well, I don't want to say anything that sounds like some kind of self-help guy, but I have 3 different strategies for how to get web development clients if you're interested. And that's the first one. I've actually field tested this, and it has been, well, it's been good. They like it. They really like it. Now, I actually made a few blunders along the way. Maybe I'll talk about that sometime, but I'm learning, and it's a whole new strategy. So those of you who are commercial developers, I would encourage you to think outside the box. Start looking at what the business owners are wanting and what they're dealing with. They are tired of dealing with bullshit. The bullshit is called out. I called it out. Turns out I was right. And what they're doing today is they're moving towards things like Wix and Squarespace and all of that stuff. Best of luck if you want to compete with them. But another significant number of business owners are saying, do you know what? We're going to keep it in-house. We've already got an IT guy, and, you know, we've got such and such over there on accounts. We're going to keep it in-house. And if you can be the developer who says, I'll show you how to do it, believe me, you're going to do pretty well. So that's my first thing. What do you think? Did I not deliver? Was it worth sitting through? Was it worth sitting through? I'm watching the likes. I'm not happy with any of this. I'm not seeing enough likes. And if I don't see enough, then I'm out of here. I don't need to be here, by the way. I'm going to come back and talk to you for a little while, and we'll see how it goes. If I find that I'm still hanging about with 11,000 subs, we'll put a deadline on, well, soon. I'll just be out of here. I wish you all the best of luck, and I'll be gone. But if you do enjoy this alternative content, who else is talking about stuff like this? Who else? If you enjoy this, you let me know. You click the like thing. I'm seeing only 11 likes. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So that's that. Let's now have a look at the comments, and we'll see what you folks have to say. All right. So let's check it out here. Man, we have a whole lot of stuff. A whole lot of stuff. So let's have a little, geez, there's so much here. There's so much. And it's Danny, watch enthusiast, no less. Watch enthusiast. I hope you are doing well 30. Nice to see you. We like watches here. Yeah, it says you deserve more subs. But as you know, always the legends were no by few people like Terry Davis. Oh, gee. I've had the comparison with Terry Davis a few times, and lately I've had people telling me I look like Better Call Saul. I consider it a compliment. Terry Davis was a genius, but I'm not a genius. I am, however, a hard worker. Okay. Yanez Novak says, you cannot do Scrum right, but you can be agile without sticking to a system. Agile means that rules are there as directions, not a system of rules you have to play. Well, thank you, Yanez. Sounds a bit Bruce Lee what you're saying there, and I appreciate it. Doronov says, there are some things in the Agile Manifesto that are common sense and the way people already did projects. That's why it seems that Agile can work. It's not the Agile part that works. Okay, we have lots of thumbs ups here. A new car, see you in 2 months for your software upgrade. 2 months? Oh, geez, these are going well back. I'm not I'm not oh, geez, stop these complicated words here. Not Mark Knopfler says I cannot disagree. The same, Yanez, with CI4. I don't know what you're talking about. Processes, okay, fine. Yanez, what's not to like? We have loads of, I can't read them all here. We have another. Matthias says, I've been a huge fan of yours, David, ever since you said years ago what nonsense solid is. Thank you. And hail to Matt Yaz. It's a new voice. Welcome. Plotting an Escape. What a fantastic name. Says DC is not right about everything. Solid is not nonsense. Solid are excellent principles in my opinion. Kyle is here. Ahoy to you, Kyle. Bamboo for you one. Ahoy to you. Doronov, business owners may have figured it out, but governmental organizations haven't. And there you go. Look out for Doronov's comments. He never gets a comment wrong. Thank you, Doronov. Yanez, protect and agile does not go together. Well, look, folks, I'm not here to, actually, believe it or not, I'm not here to badmouth agile. I'm telling you what's happening. It's like the tide is changing direction, and me being here having an opinion is irrelevant. I'm telling you what's actually happening. We're past the point of predictions here, just in case you never figured it out. We are past the point of predictions. Thank you to those of you who just gave this a thumbs up. I appreciate it. So I'm struggling to keep up a wee bit, and I'm just realized that I'm really bad at reading. But tomorrow, is that tomorrow the 6th, Roman numerals? New name, and ahoy to you. The light counter doesn't update. I'm up to number 13. Thank you, thank you. Okay, one of the worst things you can do in a web development stream is read comments live, because every now and again you get people throwing in phrases that can trip you up and stuff and that you don't know much about. Right, so anyway, there you go. I hope I haven't missed anything. We do a daily stand-up. The Agile Manifesto was a good repudiation of the often failing waterfall model, which assumed people could design without prototyping. Tomorrow, God bless you to the highest, and I appreciate your comment. Your opinion matters. You matter. Nobody is better than you. However, waterfall does not exist. I called it out. I did a whole video on that. Check it out. You cannot show me a waterfall podcast. You cannot show me a waterfall conference. You might be able to show me like one waterfall book, little tiny one. And when you do that, I'll show you a guy who's selling Agile certification. Waterfall does not exist. It's a crazy thing, but it's true. It does not exist. Nobody works like that. Maybe they did work like that in the days where, you know, Neil Armstrong was gone on the moon or something. I don't know. But nobody in web development works like that. They made up a problem out of thin air and then they solved it. It's just crazy, you know. I called it out. There is no such thing as waterfall. It does not exist. All right. So, okay, well, maybe tomorrow mentions World War II. He may be right if we go back to World War II. I'm talking about web development stuff here, though. I don't know what happened at World War II, but in terms of web development, no such thing as waterfall. They just made it up. Okay, so I'm just about at the 1 hour point. How did I do? How did I do? Normally, I come on here and code, just coding for hours and hours. In fact, I did 9 hours today, but it's nice to be here talking. And I'm going to be watching the comments. I'm going to be watching the likes and stuff very closely. And if, and only if, the feedback is positive, then I'll come back and give you more of this. Because I've spent the past 4, maybe 5 years out of the marketplace and looking at everything that's gone on. And now, for the first time, I'm looking at it and I'm seeing changes in the air. And it's actually a good thing. And if you are aware of what's going on and able to anticipate the next move on the great chessboard of life, I think you're going to do okay. So, thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed. Bless you all to the highest. And we'll do this again soon. I'm planning on doing this twice a day. It's probably going to be a Tuesday and a Thursday, just so you know. So it's probably a Tuesday and a Thursday, and we'll call it 7 p.m. London time, okay? So for those of you who enjoy this type of content, let me know, and we'll go for Tuesday and Thursday, and we'll do the 7 p.m. slot UK time. Thank you so much for being here, folks. Bless you all to the highest. And if you do code, remember, always code with an expectation of success. This is David Connolly, the web developer extraordinaire, claiming back my industry. I hope you have enjoyed my industry. Well, I'm back, and it feels good.